Guten Abend, gut Nacht, mit Rosen bedeckt, mit Näglein besteckt, schlupf unter die Deck. Morgen früh, wenn Gott will, wirst du wieder geweckt. Good morning.
Then Sally started bringing her
Well, it's about 7:30 right now, and I just got on the train, and we're headed off to Berlin. It should be about 3 hours. They came by and gave me a carton of water. I've never seen water in a carton before. That's kind of cool. And I guess they're going to bring by some cookies. But 3 hours is a long time, so I'm going to sit back and enjoy the view. Okay, so here I am in Germany, actually Berlin, and I'm in front of the concert house. I'm going to do a short walk over to Checkpoint Charlie and then over to the Brandenburg Gate and a few other locations, and I might even get on a hop-on, hop-off bus. So it's going to be a fun day. Let's go. Okay, well there certainly were a lot of ways to get around Berlin, and walking suited me just fine because I had heard how pedestrian friendly the city was. I was also told by someone on the train that if I should lose my bearings in my walk, I just needed to look up in the sky and look for a balloon that was in the general direction of where I was going. During my walk, I noticed along the street cafes were these pink pipes. At first I thought it was an art installation, but was told that Berlin was built on a swamp, so this is a way to get the groundwater away from construction sites. My first destination was an open-air exhibit that dealt with post-World War II tensions and the dividing of Berlin into east and west sections. The result of these tensions in the 1940s between Russia and America led to the Cold War. During this time, the East Germans built a barbed wire fence and later replaced it with a 100-mile concrete barrier. You can find a very small piece of that wall in its courtyard. When the wall was finally dismantled in 1989, it's understandable that the citizens of Berlin didn't see it as a tourist attraction, but that's what it's become, and pieces of it have been shipped all around the world, from London to Las Vegas. As you know, they tore down the Berlin Wall years ago, and you can still find bits and pieces of it throughout the city. But if you come here in this park, you'll see one of the largest remaining sections. There were several versions of the wall. This is the fourth and final one. It's 12 feet tall, there were over 300 guard shacks, and there was an outer and inner wall. Over 170 people lost their lives trying to get over it or under it. Directly across from this section of the wall is an exhibit museum by the name of Topography of Terror. During World War II, on this location sat the offices of the Nazi secret police known as the Gestapo. The building was destroyed after the war, but years later, during excavation, they discovered the basement to the building and turned it into a museum to tell of the horrors that took place here and the lives that were lost. From the very beginning of the wall in 1961, there were various crossing points into East Berlin. Probably the most famous of those is Checkpoint Charlie, and there's a museum currently on its location. The Checkpoint Charlie Museum is quite popular. If you're looking for the actual Checkpoint Charlie, well, it's not hard to find. All the tour buses stop here, and you'll first see a picture of a Russian soldier indicating that you're entering into the East German side. On the opposite side, you'll find an American soldier. These pictures alone have become their own popular tourist attraction. But across the street from McDonald's, you'll find a little white shack, and this is Checkpoint Charlie. Now at the time, everyone was telling me this was the original Checkpoint Charlie, But I knew better than that. There's been many of them over the years, and this was just a reproduction. If you'd like to see the original, well, here it is in 1961. This original version is pretty much the way it's portrayed in the reproduction. The last known version, well, that was dismantled and placed in a museum for display. But it's one of the more popular tourist attractions in Berlin, and people are willing to pay money to stand in front of it with an actor portraying an American soldier or a Russian soldier. Besides getting your picture taken with a performer, the checkpoint also sells stamps for your passport, and for 5 or 10 euros you can buy a stamp. Many people were doing this, but I saw that if you went into any store and bought something, the vendors would do that for free. With so many people packed into one area, and all looking to spend money, there was a lot to do. I noticed there was the Trabi-Museum, which is based off of the East German car that was in production for 35 years. But I also noticed on every corner people were staring at their feet, actually a little box. And I realized that it was an old con game called 3 Shells and a Pea, or also known as the Old Army game. Trust me when I say you can't win. But many people wanted to give it a try, especially after a shill would be betting 20 or 50 euros and winning every time. Walking away from Checkpoint Charlie, I noticed on the street in the cobblestone these small brass plates. They're called stumbling stones, or quite literally stumbling blocks. They have the names and life dates of people who have been persecuted or exterminated by Nazi terror. They're placed in the last known area of where the person lived or worked freely, and you can find them all throughout Europe. This powerful landmark that you see behind me is 2,711 concrete slabs. It's the Holocaust Memorial. Completed in 2004 and covering over 4.7 acres, the official name is the Memorial to the Murdered Jews of Europe. It was designed by New York architect Peter Eisenman. As the ground slopes downward, the concrete slabs grow in height from 1 to 15 feet. Attached to the memorial is a 9,000 square foot underground place of information containing the names of the millions of Jews that were murdered in the Holocaust. Across from the memorial, you'll see a building with a flag on it. It's an American flag because it's the American Embassy. Within a short walk of there, you'll find one of the most well-known landmarks of Berlin. It's the Brandenburg Gate, and built in 1791 by a Prussian king, Frederick William II, and it's the official gate of the city. This is how the gate looked in the 1930s before World War II. After World War II and the reconstruction, well, they built the wall right next to it. It's also the location of Ronald Reagan's famous speech where he said the words,
"Mr. Gorbachev, tear down this wall."
You can find in the cobblestones a permanent reminder of where the wall once stood. As I was leaving the very busy Brandenburg Gate area, I noticed another gate in front of me that had a great deal of green forest behind it. I was surprised how peaceful and quiet it was. I had stumbled upon a beautiful park right in the city. It was the beautiful Tiergarten Park, 500 acres of paths and walkways. It even had a goldfish pond. But I knew I had to see the city from a different perspective, and that perspective wouldn't be on foot. It would be on the top deck of a hop-on, hop-off bus. Not only was it a great perspective, but it came with its own little earbuds that I was able to listen to a translation and understand what I was looking at. Mine were easier to figure out, though. Well, I've made it back to the concert hall behind me. I've had a wonderful time in Berlin. It's hot, I'm parched, and then I realized there's one thing I didn't do. I'm in Berlin and I didn't have a beer. So come watch me have a beer. Thank you so much for watching the video to the very end. If you enjoyed the Valley Vlog, well, here's a few others you might like. And a very big thank you to all those who've liked, subscribed, or left positive comments about the videos. It's made them a joy to make. So thank you again, and we'll see you next time.